Bisping's been really good for UFC in this country, and watching The Ultimate Fighter, he's one of the most interesting and enjoyable things about the whole series. I mean, Dan Hardy's got the record, and he's had the fights, but in terms of who's more charismatic and is stealing the show, I think it's Bisping. And his fighters, there's some really promising guys out there, not just Dan Hardy, who've got loads of... I thought technically they're a lot better than obviously UFC sort of in this country isn't as far ahead as it is in America. But I was really impressed. I think that they're holding their own, more than holding their own out there at the moment.
All right, well, thank you for your comments for the moment. We're going to talk to one of them right now.
Come back to that in a minute. Yeah, let's talk about UFC 98. A couple of weeks away, one of the most eagerly awaited matchup pits Matt Hughes against Matt Serra. I'm delighted to say Matt Serra joins us on the line now. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yes, hello everyone in the UK. How are you?
We're very well. We appreciate you joining us as well. How are preparations going then?
No problem.
Are you in good shape? How are preparations going?
Oh, man, I'm in phenomenal shape. I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time. And this fight's a long time coming. I'm really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to the 23rd.
Well, Matt, it's your first fight in the Octagon since April last year. We've seen some of the other fighters, likes of Dan Hardy, we saw out in America. And to say, put it politely, let himself go between fights. What sort of fighter are you between fights? Do you relax? Do you let the regime go? Do you eat all the wrong foods?
Oh, let me tell you something. I might be American, but I'm Italian-American, so I could definitely become a little bit of that chubby Italian guy. But I get right back into shape, though. My two vices is my pizza and my pasta. But I put that down. I haven't had a slice of pizza in 3 months, so I'm a very angry person.
Hungry person, too, by the sound of it.
Matt Hughes says you talk too much, and he says that will mean the fans will be on his side. What do you make of those comments?
I think that's a guy desperate to get fans. You know what? I think that's funny, man. I think, you know what? You just got to be who you are. And, you know, I just think anybody could, you know, he thinks I'm bad for, you know, for the sport, or I'm bad, you know, for kids, because maybe once in a while I'll drop the F-bomb. But let me tell you, I think, you know, people aren't stupid, neither are children, you know. They see how you treat people. And if you treat people like a jerk, guess what? You're a jerk, and that's what he is. And I'm just saying what a lot of people feel, you know? I fought in the UFC since 2001. I get along with everybody. A lot of guys that have victories over me, guys that, not a lot of guys that have victories over me, but whoever, some of the guys I fought, and whether I won or lost, I'm friends with pretty much everybody. It's a rarity in this sport that you really get a guy that's not a good person, and I believe we found that in Matt Hughes. So I'm really looking forward to the fight.
Matt, it's Gareth A. Davis here from the Daily Telegraph. I'm a kind of regular pundit on this show, and I wanted to ask you, obviously it's well documented that you felt a long time ago that when Matt Hughes defeated Royce Gracie, he was very disrespectful, and obviously you'd learned a tremendous amount from the Gracies, and that they're heroes for you. To what extent do you feel that you know? I assume that what you want to do against Hughes is put him to sleep almost like you did GSP and send him off into oblivion in retirement. And can you actually harness dislike for someone when you're a trained athlete going into a trained competitive fight?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I am a Gracie disciple. I'm talking to you right now. I'm at the Renzo Gracie Academy in Manhattan, matter of fact. You know, but I mean, as far as, I think he's just arrogant, you know, and as far as getting all caught up emotionally, like, I don't like the guy as a person, but I'll be the first one to tell you how dangerous he is as an opponent. I'm not looking at him as some washed-up champion. I'm not looking at him as a guy that, you know, maybe had his day. I still think he's extremely dangerous. I think he might have lost his last two fights, but his last two fights was against GSP and Alves, who's, you know, they're two studs. So, and he was doing well in his last fight in the sense that he was taking the guy down, where even Josh Koscheck couldn't get the guy down. So he's still a dangerous, dangerous opponent. Me not liking him as a person really has nothing to do with that. I'm not going to try to get caught up emotionally in the fight. In the fight, I'm going to be disciplined and I'm going to be strategic. And I'm preparing for all the worst-case scenarios, you know. And I know what his strongest points are. And I'm going to be prepared for that, you know.
Matt, you say you know what his strongest points. So where do you see yourself winning this one? What's going to be more likely, like spectacular knockout, or is this going to be one on the ground?
You know, that's the beauty of MMA. You don't know. You can have a great, you know, strategy and whatnot, but You know, that's why this sport is taking off the way it's taking off, is because you really never know what's going to happen, you know? And you just got to be prepared for all scenarios and kind of stay in the moment, you know? If I see the fight going a certain way and I have something planned out, plan A doesn't work, there's got to be plan B, plan C, and plan D. You can't just sit there and say, oh, man, you know, he got me down. I didn't want him to get me down. I'm going to be prepared. My first, you know, I have a background of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know he tries to get the fight to the floor, and if he gets to the fight to the floor, he's going to have more than he can handle down there. I'm just really, you know, in other words, I'm not just going to be upset if the fight doesn't go a certain way. I'm going to have to really just try to stay in the moment, you know?
Matt, tell me, win this one. There's talk you could get GSP again. How would you see that one going? You and GSP Part 3.
You know, that definitely would not suck. I would really look forward to that. But Matt Hughes, you know, I really think it's bad luck to look past any fight that I've had. I've always had that kind of rule. So yeah, you know, again, there's tons of possibilities after this fight, but you know, I got a big farmer in front of me, so I got to take him out.
Well, Matt, tell us, have you been impressed by the way GSP seems to develop since you beat him in 2007, though?
You know, I was impressed with GSP before I fought him. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal athlete, you know, and I think he's gonna, you know, he's on a tear, you know. I mean, he's just gonna be, you know, I mean, he did awesome in his last couple of fights, last 2 to 3 fights since, you know, and oh Jesus. I'm sorry.
But listen, let me ask you very quickly.
I'm sorry. I was doing an interview and I got kind of cut off there.
Hey, listen, it's okay, Matt. We're going to lose you in a second anyway because we are running out of time for this part. I want to ask you very quickly. Welterweights, tough division. Have you seen our very own Dan Hardy? If so, what did you make of him?
The Mohawk, Dan Hardy. He's got a Mohawk, is that right?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah,
the one.
Man. He's going to knock out Rory Markham.
That's the guy?
Yes.
He knocked out Rory Markham? Is that who we're talking about?
Yes, it is. What do you make of him? Have you seen much of his fighting?
Man, I'll tell you right now, I've seen his last one and he looked awesome.
That's what we like to hear. We like to hear you bigging up the Brits.
No, hey, man, listen, you got to give credit where credit is due, man. That guy, Rory Markham's no joke, and he put him to sleep, so, hey, much props.
Matt, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Wish you all the best in your fight.
Hey, thanks for having me. Take care now.
Thank you, Matt.
Right, plenty more still to come. Yeah, great talker too. Plenty more still to come. We'll talk more to Christian O'Connell and Gareth A. Davis. Plus,
we'll talk to Michael Bisping, who's counting down to UFC 100, and our face-off with Dan Henderson. Hello, welcome back to Ultimate Talk here on Setanta Sports.
Now, remember, we always want to get your emails and texts. Contact us at views@setanta.com, or you can text us on 6300. Start your message with the word views.
And remember, you could always see the show on the UFC website, UFC.com, or you can download it as a podcast. Just go to iTunes and follow the links for Ultimate Talk. Or, of course, you can go to setanta.com.
Now, in just over 2 months' time, all the talk will be about one thing, UFC 100. One of the main attractions on that card will be our very own Michael Bisping's fight against Dan Henderson.
The winner will move a step nearer a shot at Anderson Silva's middleweight title. And I'm delighted to say Michael joins us on the line now. Good evening, Michael. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time. How are preparations going over there?
Well, yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on the show. Preparations are going fantastic, you know. I'm still 9 weeks out from the fight, of course, but everything's going well. I mean, I feel like I could fight next week, to be honest, and as I said, I've still got 9 weeks. We've got a few guys coming over from the States. We've got Rico Rodriguez, who's going to come and help run the camp with us. We've got some wrestlers coming over, a couple of Olympic standard wrestlers, and some great fighters coming over. So we're going to have a very, very busy camp, and I'm looking forward to the fight.
Michael, the bookies make you underdog for this fight. It's been a while since you've had that tag. Does that help going in?
I suppose it's always nice to go in there being the underdog. You know, it's a little less pressure. But for me, I'm always an underdog mentally. You know, I never go into a fight expecting to win or thinking I'm, you know, the favourite. You know, I always go in there with an underdog's mentality. And for me to be the underdog at the bookies, you know, that's great. But I think it's definitely an opportunity for some people to make some money.
Hey, Michael, it's Christian O'Connell here. I'm a big fan, and you were on my breakfast show last year. How long do you think it is until UFC is as big in America as it is in this country? You know, it will be as big over here as it is in America.
I think we're catching up all the time. Obviously, you know, we're not at that level yet. But I think, I mean, the way the UFC are running things, you know, and a couple of years maybe, something like that. I mean, more and more people are getting involved with the sport all the time. More newspapers are starting to cover it, magazines, you know. There's more and more TV interest in the UFC and the sport in general. So, you know, it's all positive. And, you know, obviously the UFC is expanding into Germany and Europe and other places. So, yeah, like I said, it's catching up. I'd say a couple of years. I mean, I think that this series of The Ultimate Fighter is going to do wonders for the UFC, as Ultimate Fighter 1 did in America. Fingers crossed, Season 9, with it being UK versus the US, will help the sport to explode in this country.
Michael, it's Gareth here. I hope you're well. I've been watching the series, obviously, and I just kind of caught the last episode last night, I think episode 4 or 5.